In boxing, coaches, commentators, and interviewers place the most importance on things like power, speed, reach, and height. However, endurance is just as important. Endurance is comprised of 4 aspects. The first aspect being the boxer's ability to take punches, how durable they are. The most durable boxer of all time, and the boxer with the most endurance overall, with a record of 49 wins to 0 losses and 0 draws, was by far heavyweight Rocky Marciano. Rocky Marciano would lean away from his opponent's punch by leaning either to the left or right. Then he would turn the complete opposite way to launch an extremely powerful punch. Or sometimes he would use the momentum of dodging to punch in the same direction. Marciano was so tough, even while his opponent was hitting him, he could still punch through and hit his opponent. Marciano was an infighter, and he almost exclusively used hooks and uppercuts. Rocky Marciano almost never fully extended his arm. He usually used his raw strength and his momentum. Marciano's style relied on his supernatural endurance, and because of this, he was fine with taking a lot of hits. He bends forward to reduce the jab's damage, then keeps moving forward to not let Walcott retract his arm. Now that he's close, he can land an easy hook. Boxers of this time period were great at slipping, but not so good at punching. He usually wouldn't extend his jabs, instead keeping his arm close, using his jab to parry opponents' punches. Unlike most boxers, he didn't use his jabs to deal damage, but instead to create opportunities. He would extend his punches, but almost only when his opponent was against the ropes. Since his arm was inside of Walcott's arms, he decides to block this hook completely. Marciano was a master of far-range positioning. This little jab allowed him to do many feints without committing, and let him get in, little by little, slowly but surely, accurately. This dodging to the side is a very passive form of boxing, and takes lots of patience. Due to his short stature for a heavyweight, when his opponent clenched him, he could just punch under their guard. Unlike most jabs, this small jab doesn't require you to commit. Once Rocky got even slightly tired, he would just clench his opponents. Marciano's short arms and small stature made him have difficulty with his arms being pushed down, and him being pushed in general. Marciano was great at pacing himself. He almost always went slightly slower than his opponent, resulting in his supernatural endurance. When Marciano was in a position where nothing was happening, he would get out of it so his opponent couldn't have a break. This slower pace, combined with his stocky build and amazing ability to take punches, allowed him to consistently land late-round knockouts. Due to his short reach, when he did extend a jab, it allowed his opponent the opportunity to grab his arm. Foreman would get both of his hands inside of Frazier's guard, then lean in to push Frazier as to keep his range advantage. If Foreman's arms happened to be on the outside of his opponent's guard, however, he would use his long legs as to step away. Foreman knew very well how to punish Frazier's lack of rope-a-dope skill. Instead of committing fully to dodging to the side like Marciano or under like Mike Tyson, Joe Frazier doesn't commit to either, doing both simultaneously. This dodging under and to the side simultaneously may seem good in theory, but in reality, it makes you lose endurance very, very quickly. Foreman's high arm length to torso size ratio made it easy for him to block hooks. Frazier would use up all of his speed at the start of rounds. About a minute and a half into every round, he would have had wasted so much energy trying to chase after Foreman that he had no energy left to fight him. At this point, Foreman knew he didn't have to do anything else and stopped punching him, which is very contrary to his cold-blooded persona of the time. George Foreman said that there are two types of punches, the ones that you can feel and the ones that hurt so much that you can't even feel them.
40 up. Producer retimed the second round. In our truck, Lyle all over. Lyle has Foreman in trouble.
George Foreman said that the only reason he stood back up here was because Ron Lyle hit so hard he couldn't even feel his punches.
Foreman is down. It started with a right, then a left. Foreman looking over, except for that charade in Toronto against the frightful Todd.
George Foreman was so dazed that he decided the only thing he could do was widen his legs and slug it out.
Oh, Foreman is in trouble. Lyle caught him with a good left. Now, George.
Ron Lyle may have had power, but not endurance. Despite George Foreman's violent demeanor, he just decided to tap on Lyle and lightly punch him, waiting for him to go down.
Foreman in red. Round one just underway in Caracas, Venezuela. Foreman showing the concentration.
Ken Norton backed away. Then right as Foreman stepped forward, he hit him with a jab. This combination of the opponent moving into the punch and Norton's strength can result in devastating power.
Big fella. Foreman goes out with that light left taken on the shoulder by Ken Norton.
Even at 42 years old, Foreman still had great endurance. Evander Holyfield was also quite powerful, but definitely not as powerful as George Foreman was. The most notable thing about Evander Holyfield was his speed, not his power. If you like that video, watch my video on how Mike Tyson fought smaller opponents. You'll learn a lot.